Good afternoon. Welcome to the online counseling session of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. I am your academic counselor, Dr. Aslam Fasiullah. In this counseling session, we are dealing with English drama, which is a course prescribed in BA English 5th semester. Before we take up today's topic, that is the period from Renaissance to Restoration, I would like to tell you that in our previous class, we have looked at the syllabus for this course, which comprises of 5 different blocks, and each block has certain topics, which we also call units. And there are as many as 15 different topics in our syllabus, starting from origin and forms of drama and elements of drama to Indian samples of drama, and then American and African kind of dramas, as well as the English dramas, and some dramas which are available in Indian dramas which are available in English translations. So these are the things that we already had an understanding of in our previous classroom or previous counseling session. So in today's class, I'll be focusing primarily on the English period, which is Renaissance to Restoration. As we were talking about how drama as a form originated and what constitute drama as a genre, the logical next step would be to talk about the early period of drama, and then different periods within English history, English literary history, wherein this genre drama progressed or developed and grew from one defining characteristics to another from each period. So, if we quickly recall that drama began in Greek, literary culture, and from there it moved on to Latin and Roman, church. From there it came to England, and in the initial stages, as we are primarily focusing on English drama, so in the early phase of English drama in England, we came to know that the church was the primary platform which were using drama as a tool to sensitize people about certain beliefs, certain traditions, certain histories, right, and certain values. So the earliest forms of drama which English culture saw were rooted in church, right? So we had mystery plays, miracle plays, right? Those kind of forms in which drama is started. And I gave example of India as well, where in India for thousands of years, right? Uh, drama uh, were dramas were performed primarily to tell the stories of Mahabharata, Ramayana, Upanishads, right? And in our Telugu culture also, we have something called Burra Kathas and all. So those were performances, right, which later developed and took a definitive shape of drama. And what we see today as cinema, as a movie is the latest avatar of drama. Okay, so that was some snapshots, some outline of early period where drama as a tool, literary tool, right, was used, to further certain causes. And then we moved on to also talk about variety of elements that make up drama, right? So, for example, when we say drama, so drama is a form of literature, is a genre within literature where the whole story uh, comes out in the form of dialogues, right? So there are different, characters within the drama who speak to one another, who deliver dialogues, and in the form of dialogues, the whole story starts, develops, and ends. Okay, so this is a very defining feature, main feature of drama as a form of literature. But there are also additional features that make up the whole genre. Right? So as we understood, uh, dialogue to be a primary feature. Similarly, there is a story, there is uh, character, right? There is setting, there is a spectacle. There are different elements which make up drama, which we already discussed in our previous counseling session. So if you get a chance, you can go through the the counseling live session that we had in the previous session. Okay, so let's now move on to a different block today, that is block 2 within this course, which talks about the period of English drama right from Renaissance to Restoration. So Renaissance to Restoration are basically these are political events that happened in the English history, right? The way we have partition, right, emergency, liberalization, right, and these are different major political events with respect to Indian history. So similar Indian modern history. So similarly, in the medieval history of England, various events took place, right, and those events are named. Right? So similarly, Renaissance is a period where certain political things have happened, and that shaped the literature of the time. Okay, so in today's class, our focus would be to see what all the things that have happened between Renaissance and Restoration. So when I say, or when we say Renaissance as a period, we mean a period from 1485 to 1603. Remember and mark these words, mark these dates, because if you are uh, to follow the English history with respect to its literature, or you are preparing for any of the examination, even including competitive examination. So these are major periods in English history that you have to remember along with its dates. Okay, so when we say Renaissance period, so it means it is from 1485 to 1603. Okay. In this periods, a variety of things have happened, right? So from drama point of view, remember it is this period in which the most prominent dramatist or writer of the period was Shakespeare. So it is the period of Shakespeare. You can map it like Renaissance means the period wherein Shakespeare lived and wrote a lot of English plays, right? So the major one of the major and the most prominent writer or dramatist of this period was William Shakespeare, and it is the era of creativity in England. Okay, So when we say creativity, again we are talking from the literature point of view. And what other things have happened in that period, we will uh, come to know. We will discuss about that in a short time. And after that, there is one more period that is called Jacobean period. It is also called Caroline period, right? This is a period from 1603 to 1642. Right? So Jacobean period is from 1603 to 1642, and it is a period where dark drama was written. Now we will come to know about this in a short time. Then after that, we have interim, right? This is a period where which starts from 1642 to 1660. So from literary point of view, it is a period where during which theater was shut down, right? You see, Renaissance was the zenith of English drama, was the pinnacle of English drama, where a lot of English drama was written, a lot of creativity was shown when it comes to literary genre drama, right? But suddenly there comes a period where the entire whole the theaters were closed in England. Okay, so we'll come to know why it happened, what was the reason about that led to the shutdown of theater in England. And then after that, you have restoration period, which is from 1660 to 1700. And this is a period where things revival has happened, and start of wit was very visible in literary output. Okay. So when we say Renaissance to Restoration, there are actually four different periods in this duration, starting from Renaissance to Jacobean interim and Restoration. So this is an outline of what we are going to talk about today. So I urge you to mark these periods as well as the dates corresponding to each period from examination point of view as well as from competitive exam point of view. Okay, so we'll move on and take one period at a time. Excuse me. Well, when we say Renaissance, it is the period of a revival of classical learning. Now, when I say classical learning here, it means the people of England, especially in these you know in this dates, that is in this period, that is 1485 to 1603, were looking back to literary production, literary output of Latin. Okay, we know that English people have benefited a lot from French, Italian, and Latin works. Okay, so this is the period where people were looking back to Latin and other cultures for inspiration for what to write and how to write and all, right? So that is how literature progresses. You write about are taking inspiration from people who came before you, the writers who came before you, and those writers could be of your own culture or of different culture or different civilization. So it is a period where writers were looking back to Latin and other Italian, French sources for inspiration. And one major philosophical, what do we say, the driving force behind this period was humanism. Now we discussed in the beginning and also in our previous session that drama as a form of literature was used successfully in that nascent stages in English history by church. to further the religious, purpose of didacticism or of teaching of promoting good, right, and discouraging people from indulging in evil. So that was the initial use of drama as a form of literature. Now, if you look at there, if you stop for a moment and think, what exactly the worldview that is associated with the church or the religion. So it was God-centric, worldview. Everything was from uh, God and God's point of view, right? Whether it's Bible, whether it's any other religious text, all or most of the religions of the world, give humanity, human beings, a God-centric worldview. But in that, you know, uh, situation, a new worldview comes up, a new, looking at world, right, comes up, and that is called humanism. What is humanism? If you take it, example, the definition of what humanism was as a philosophical doctrine, is a progressive philosophy of life that, without supernaturalism, affirms our ability and responsibility to lead ethical lives of personal fulfillment that aspire to the greater good of humanity. Now, this is seen as a paradigm shift, right, from God centric worldview to man centric worldview. Earlier, God was at the center of everything. But in these periods, emerges a new philosophy, a philosophical doctrine uh, with the name humanism, which says the human being should be the center of everything. Everything should be, from the human point of view, without the intervention of God. Right? If you look at this definition, it says without supernaturalism. Supernatural here means, the belief in God is actually belief in the supernatural. Right? So this worldview takes God, you know, out of focus and brings in human being. So now, I'll give you one example. If we take anything, say for example, any activity or any phenomena, and we classify it as good or bad, right? For example, stealing, right? Something is seen as bad. Now, where does this uh, interpretation comes from? So it comes from religion. Our religion teaches, right? Your religion or my religion or anybody's religion may teach that stealing a loaf of bread is actually uh, it's immoral. It's not good. It's bad. But if we take out that God-centric point of view, then if we bring human-centric point of view to the whole interpretation, so the stealing may not appear bad. Right? Pickpocketing would appear a profession rather than a bad act. Right? So there is the difference. So I think I have tried to explain you through this example. We can there could be a number of better examples to explain this point. So the whole point is the God-centric point of view was changed to man-centric point of view through this humanism. That was the whole what do you say uh, the whole agenda or the whole purpose of this humanism. Now, how it affected literature, in what way literature changed, After this, something that can be explored in our own individual capacity. Okay. Now then, there is emergence of public theaters. Now, earlier, as I told you, the performances, the dramas were limited to church, right? But later, in these periods, because of the supervision of, right, and because of the right support of the queen and the king, whoever ruling at the time, there was support for establishment of public theaters. When we say public theaters, which means sponsored by or established by government support, right? So the government itself took interest in establishing different theaters. Right? In modern day, we have cinema halls, right? So similarly, at that time, the government of England, the ruler of the Britain and England, realized that it is good to establish different theaters where people could go watch performances and relax and enjoy and learn something. So it is in this period that the ruler, the government, took interest in establishing theaters. And also when we know that poetry was usually written in verses, right? And those verses typically have rhyme and rhythm, right? So now when it came to drama, right, the drama was different from poetry because drama had characters, characterization, right, and a plot and other extra elements which we usually don't have in poetry. So it required a specialized usage of language. So therefore, the language of drama retains certain elements of poetry. Like the drama was also written in verse, but the verse often lacked rhyme and rhythm, which we find in poetry. So that kind of verse is called blank verse, right? And typically English blank verse I don't know, iambic or pentameter. So you can remember it. Oh, and then also at a genre level, they also experimented with complex characterization, creating characters which are complex in nature, rather than simple, good man as a character, bad man as a character. They develop complex human-like characters. Okay, and this is one of the reasons why the Shakespearean characters, uh, which were written in 16th century, appear as fresh and as resembling to modern day human beings, right? Because they created such characters, human-like characters. Okay. And the major playwrights of Renaissance period were, yes, William Shakespeare, the most popular, and Christopher Marlowe and Ben Jonson. These were three, major playwrights of Renaissance period. We are not talking about all the writers of Renaissance period. We are specifically talking about the dramatists and playwrights of that period. So among them, Shakespeare stands out as the most popular one, followed by Christopher Marlowe and Ben Jonson. So let's move on to some of the important works written by these three important playwrights. So when it comes to Christopher Marlowe, Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus is very famous, and then there is also Tamburlaine. Uh, both plays are marvelous in themselves and would be a great read if you get a chance to read about it. And I think I can give you an example of Dr. Faustus. Dr. Faustus, as a story, is rooted in the biblical worldview, where there is a confrontation, a clash, mm, you say, right, between the Satan and the man, right, Dr. Foster himself, and how now that unfolds is a in itself is a great story you can know about. So then you have our own William Shakespeare, right, who wrote n number of plays, including history plays, tragedies, and comedies as well, right? So uh, Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, Macbeth are his famous tragedies, right? And they are uh, I have written here in sequence, right? In the sequence, so first came the Hamlet, then Othello, then King Lear, and then Macbeth. All these are very popular tragedies of Shakespeare. Shakespeare also wrote, histories, right, on Richard, Antonio Cleopatra, and other histories. Similarly, Shakespearean comedies are also there, right? You have All is Well That Ends Well, right? Taming of the Shrew, and different comedies are also there. So Shakespeare produced plays of different types or different subgenre types. And then we also have Ben Jonson as a again one of the uh, popular playwrights of Renaissance period. So his two important plays which I listed here is Walpole and The Alchemist, right? So this is, dear students, this is the general overview uh, of Renaissance period, right? From it's a period which starts from 1485 to 1603, and why it is important from societal point of view, and why it is important from uh, socio-political point of view, right? And what are the major things that have happened uh, in the period? And then there is also unique characteristics when it comes to the experimentation or the creativity in literature, that is use of blank words and creating complex character. And we also talked about three major playwrights of Renaissance period. Christopher Marlowe, known for Dr. Faustus and Tamburlaine; William Shakespeare, known for his popular tragedies, Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, Macbeth. Okay? Yes, I am just reminded of one important fact here, because we are Indian and we know that there are adaptations of Shakespearean tragedies, right? So, for example, Hamlet has been uh, adapted, sorry, as Hyder movie directed by Vishal Bharadwaj, right? Othello is adapted as Omkara, right? And Macbeth is adapted as Mahbub. So these are the Indian adaptation of William Shakespeare's popular tragedies. If you get a chance, if you have free time, or if you're traveling somewhere, you can definitely check you go to YouTube and write Haider or Omkara or Mahbul as Shakespeare and as movies based on Shakespearean plays. So it will enrich your understanding of Shakespearean plays, as well as how Indian directors, Indian creative artists have adapted these stories in the Indian context. Okay. Yes. So now we will move on to another period, that is Jacobin period and Caroline drama. This period is from 1603 to 1642. Right. This is a period where the tone of writing, right, the tone of writing, became darker, right, and intrigue, and a lot of moral complexity uh, was was seen in the creative output in the literary output. Right. And a lot of tragedies were written, and comedies based on city and urban life were written, and there were also four masks. Right. Important playwrights of Jacobean period were John Webster, Francis Beaumont, and Fletcher John Ford. So these are very important to know people. Actually, these people represent a golden age of English drama, building on Shakespeare's legacy with unique voices, especially in tragic and dark themes. Now, if we go back and see what kind of dramas that were written by Shakespeare and his contemporaries, we came to realize that the majority of the works were tragedies in nature, right? And also some of the Shakespeare wrote some of the comedies, right, which were playful and bright. Okay, but when it comes to Jacobean period, and we see that a lot of revenge tragedies were written, and comedies, particularly rooted in urban life, were written. There were some mask as well. So they built on Shakespearean legacy. They carried forward the Shakespearean legacy of the English drama with complex characters, right? With well-defined plot, and perfected language of with blank verse. So they made use of all these things, but when it comes to theme, right, and type of dramas, they turn to the darker side, the tragic side. Okay, so they carry forward the legacy of Shakespeare. Then we have, I think, I just quickly take a few things from uh, yes, I think somewhere I missed saying that it is the period where Elizabeth Elizabeth was ruling England. Okay, in the Renaissance period, it was Elizabeth who was ruling. So after the fall of Elizabeth, right? After the fall of Elizabeth I, now ascended the throne. Now James I, right? And after Elizabeth I was dethroned, and James I ascended the throne. So uh, when we say Jacobean period, it is named after uh, James I. So Elizabeth I period was known as Renaissance period, right? Because a lot of revival has happened. Now, when James I came, right, uh, there was a lot of optimism in the very age of Renaissance. A lot of creativity appeared because of it. A lot of experimentation happened in the genre of literature and other areas of life. But as soon as Elizabeth was gone, right, as soon as James I came to the throne, that optimism was replaced by cynicism. Right? And as a result, society faced corruption, political instability, and poor politics. A lot of negativity spread. A lot of negativity spread in the Jacobean period, and after that, Caroline period, which is nothing but the period of Charles the One. Right? After James One, Charles One also came, and it was a time where the optimism of Renaissance was replaced by cynicism. Okay. Now, what were the dramatic tendencies or uh, characteristic features of the time of that period? I told you it was a darker tone, which means literature produced or drama produced in that period had a lot of violence, blood, moral decay in it, and plenty of revenge tragedies were written. It was influenced by Seneca, right? A lot of sensational plots, ghost, revenge was characteristics of the drama of that time, and a lot of satirization of urban greed and materialism could be seen in the city comedies, right? And also, to an extent, court masks were written, which means, lavish royal performances, music, costume, mythological allegories, could be seen in some of the, plays, right? Especially in Johnson and Inigo Jones. Okay. And among the prominent writers, we have John Webster, whose famous work, The Duchess of Malfi, uh, and this play had both in darkness, corruption, tragic intensity, right? And Demon Fletcher collectively wrote, tragic comedies popular during because tragic comedies were, a feature within drama invented by Shakespeare. So they actually, carry forwarded that, type of, uh, dramas. Okay. And John Ford also wrote this British is a war kind of controversial taboo themes of play. Okay. Now, Jacobean drama had Shakespeare's emotional depth as well as Marlowe's intensity, and it reflected society's moral downfall from Renaissance to uh, Jacobean. Whatever happened in Jacobean and Caroline period, the downfall, that loss of optimism and coming up of cynicism is reflected in this period. And there is also one period after which was neither which came after Caroline period was a interim period which is also called Commonwealth, right? Which starts from 1642 to 1660. Now, in 1642, uh, Puritan Parliament orders closure of theatre. So it is a time where Puritan ruled. Okay. Because why these why the Parliament took a decision to close down all theatre or shut down all theatres in England because theatre is seen as sinful, immoral, and associated with uh, vice. Okay, and that is why actors were banned, performances were termed illegal. And how it affected drama? So, because of this closure of theatre, no public theatre for uh, 18 years. This closure of theatre continued for not one or two, but 18 long years. And as a result, playhouses destroyed or repurposed, many playwrights turned to poetry or private courts. Now, this period is crucial to explain why restoration drama looks so different. A long silence created an artistic vacuum. When theater returns, it needs new identity. So now there is a huge successful period called Renaissance, and there are different shorter periods which actually were politically unstable, and it adversely affected uh, literature of that time. And there is also a period which is called actually interim period, right? Where nothing happened, right? And for 18 long years, there was no theater, complete absence of performances. So as a result, now when opportunity came, when Charles II was restored to the throne, right? When he came to the English throne, he brings French cultural influence. Now it is he who reopens theatre after 18 long years. And it is at this juncture there was a scope to revive, right, or restore the glory of uh, Renaissance period, where England as a society was at its a peak in terms of literary production, in terms of other kind of achievements. So that was restored. That is why it's called restoration. So what they were restoring? They were restoring what was halted as a result of the fall of Elizabeth II. Okay. So professional theatres reorganized in European models, actors became trained professionals, women were also allowed on the stage starting from restoration period. Okay. Now, if you look at some major characteristics of this restoration period, now there is something called comedy of manners. In the Shakespearean period, we were familiar with tragedies, comedies, and tragic comedy. And in other period, we came to know about city comedies. But in Restoration period, we have comedy of manners. Now, what does comedy of manner do? When we say comedy of manner, it is a kind of a play, a type of play which satirizes fashionable society's hypocrisy, and it uses witty language. Okay. And there's also libertinism, which means focus on sexual freedom, flirtation, decadence. And within drama, there was heroic tragedy. It's a kind of a play where the usage of the language is high language, and themes were noble, and there was emotional intensity in such kind of plays. And in Restoration period, as uh, the English society was looking at French culture for influence, for inspiration, it brought new technology, scenery, props, perspective design on English theatrical stage, and wit and social evidence was all over on different views. So intellect over emotion, what is the use of language? Okay, these were few important characteristics of uh, restoration period. Now coming to yes, coming to important uh, writers and contributors of this period, we have some important names like William Congreve, John Dryden, Oscar Bell, George Etheridge. These are some of the important writers who significantly contributed uh, uh, to restoration, you know, drama, uh, restoration in drama. Now, when we talk about William Congreve, his famous work is The Way of the World, right? It is a classical example, a more suitable example of the comedy of manners, right? When we say comedy of manners, we can simply associate it with The Way of the World as a play written by William Congreve. Now, this he writes about marriages of theme, deception, class performance, and all. Okay. So we have another writer, John Dryden. Uh, he is the dominant literary figure of this Restoration period, and he created heroic couplet drama, right? A and his All for Love is actually a Shakespearean theme in neoclassical style. Right. Then we have Afra Ben. She is considered as one of the first professional women playwrights. Okay. And her work, The Rover, is actually full of love politics with female agents. And she is the important feminist literary, important for feminist literary history. And there is another important, right, dramatist of that time, that is George Petrovich. He models the Restoration gentleman, that is a never time hero, and his important work is Man of Board, the Man of Board. It is basically a British social satire. Okay. I think what we can sum up in today's lecture is that drama that started in Greek, right, and came to Roman and Roman culture. From there, came to England. Was first used by church in terms of mystery plays and other morality and mystery plays kind of things. Developed into refined, took a refined form, especially post 1476 period, that is printing period, printing press establishment, right? And from there, a new era emerges, starts in English history with the ascending of throne uh, by Elizabeth I, Queen Elizabeth I, right? And it is kind of a major uh, period within English history where a lot of new things have happened uh, politically and as well as from literature point of view, right? And when we talk about literature point of view, right? Uh, from socio-political point of view, this Renaissance actually began in Italy and spread to England, and it also marks the end of medieval worldview and the starts of humanism. I told you from God-centered to human-centered, and this shift from religious dogma to human-centered state. Okay, and this is the period around which printing press, first printing press appeared in use, right? In 1476, it was by William Caxton. And a lot of exploration, curiosity, science, and individuality in the literature of Renaissance period. Okay, so what were the characteristics of Renaissance drama? So we took up that as a result of man-centered thinking, secular themes came into literature, right? Like human ambition, human passion, right? Human psyche and all. And Dr. Faustus is an example of a play where man is at the center and he's negotiating even with the devil or the devil. Okay. And then we have the introduction of blank verse, right, which is unrhymed iambic pentameter, natural yet elevated. It gives drama sophistication as well as it removed the restriction for the story to develop, for the character, for the characters to have a dialogue. Okay. And then I told you that in this period, complex characters were created, and which had some psychological realism in the conflicts. Like we have example in Hamlet's indecision or Macbeth's ambition, right? And Earlier there were only mostly tragedies, but in this particular period we have comedy, tragedy, history, sea plays, and tragic comedies, primarily championed by William Shakespeare. Okay, and then there was a start of public theaters, right? So there is a Globe Theatre, the Rose Theatre, and different theaters that came up in Renaissance period. And one of the another important thing which we missed discussing was use of soliloquies, right? So what is soliloquy? It is more like a monologue, right? So reveal internal psychological and conflict. It's a technique, right? Through which the dramatist reveals the inner conflict of a character. So we have heard about Hamlet's very famous dialogue, "To be or not to be." So when he says this, he says in a style, using a technique called soliloquy, which is like monologue. Okay. And the major playwrights of that time were Christopher Marlowe, William Shakespeare, Ben Jonson. And then came the Jacobin and Carolean drama between 1603 to 1642. And it is a time when Elizabeth was dethroned and James I assumed the power. After that came the Charles I. Okay. And it was a time where optimism was removed and was replaced by cynicism. Right? There was a lot of corruption at that time, political instability, politics, and other things. And in this period, the kind of drama produced had dark tone, revenge tragedies, comedy, and poetry, right? And important writers of that period were John Webster, who wrote The Duchess of Malfi. Then we have Beaumont and Fletcher, tragicomedies. John Ford's, controversial plays, taboo themes. Okay, so then there was a short period of interim or Commonwealth, it is also called, between 1642 to 1660. And it was a time when Puritan government came and in its parliament, it ordered the closure of theatre. So for 18 years, theatre was closed in this period, interim period. Okay. And as a result, the theaters which were open, until that point, were out of business. Either they were destroyed or repurposed. Okay, and and after that came the restoration period, and this is the restoration of the legacy or the creativity, the exploration and the success of Elizabethan period, where Charles II was restored to throne, and he brings French cultural influence in the English society. So a lot of imitations of French society, French literature, and was going on in Charles II's period. Right? So it is called restoration. And in this period, we have comedy of manners, right? Lyric tragedy and enhanced and advanced, technology in the stage, and also media mix. And some of the important, restoration comedians or restoration, writers were William Congreve, John Dryden, Afra Penn, and George Etheridge. So these are the things that we discussed for today. And tomorrow we will take up another topic, another. Actually, we have Shakespeare's Macbeth and Sheridan's, Rivals. So in the next class, we'll try to take up both this plays and we'll try to have a conversation uh, on these two things, and we'll also take up some questions related to these two plays. So today we try to cover the literature, especially drama produced between Renaissance and Restoration periods. So with this, thank you so much for joining, and looking forward to seeing you tomorrow on the same time in this online counseling session for BA fifth semester. So thank you so much.